My name is Ariel
This
Hayes,
is a
and I'm
test
29
recording
years
to
old.
demonstrate
This is the story of
professional
how I
vocal
sued my own
delivery.
parents, lost my family, and found myself. But to understand why I did what I did, I need to take you back to where it all began. I'm the oldest of two daughters. My sister Blythe is 3 years younger than me. My father, Lucan Hayes, was a mechanical engineer for over 30 years. My mother, Seraph Hayes, has been a homemaker for as long as I can remember. On the surface, we looked like a normal family, but normal families don't do what mine did to me. If you're listening from somewhere far away, drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this has traveled. And please, stay with me until the end, because what happened to me might save you from making the same mistakes I did. From as far back as I can remember, I've always been the serious one, the independent one, the one who didn't need help. Blythe was the exact opposite. Growing up, our house was always full of noise. Blythe's laughter, my parents doting on her, the constant buzz of pop songs playing in the background. Me? I preferred quiet corners, my nose buried in a book or working on my homework. I was 14 the first time I really noticed it. The favoritism. The difference. It was dinner time on a Tuesday evening. I had just come home from school, bursting with excitement. I'd won first place in the state science fair, beat out kids from schools 3 times the size of ours. I'd worked on that project for months, staying up late in the garage, testing and retesting my hypothesis about water filtration systems. I walked into the kitchen where Mom was helping Blythe with her homework. My little sister was 11 then, struggling with basic algebra. Her math test was spread across the table, covered in red marks, a big fat F at the top. "Mom, Dad," I said, unable to contain my smile. "They announced the winners today. I got first place in—" "Honey, not now." Mom cut me off, barely looking up. "Blythe's upset about her math test." Dad glanced over from his newspaper. "It's okay, Princess," he said to Blythe, his voice gentle and soothing. "Math isn't for everyone. You're creative. You have other talents." I stood there, holding my trophy, feeling it grow heavy in my hands. I won the state science fair." "That's nice, dear," Mom said absently, stroking Blythe's hair as my sister sniffled dramatically. "We always knew you were smart. Now, Blythe, let's figure out where you went wrong on these problems." I turned and walked to my room, carefully setting the trophy on my desk. That's when I learned the first lesson. My victories would always be footnotes to Blythe's failures. Birthdays and holidays made it even clearer. Blythe would tear through her gifts, squealing with excitement over trendy clothes or the latest gadgets. I would carefully set aside any money I received, planning, saving. "What are you saving for this time, kiddo?" Dad would ask, a hint of pride in his voice, though his eyes showed he didn't fully understand. "A laptop for studying," I'd reply. "The library computers are always busy." He'd nod, but I could tell they didn't get why I didn't want what other girls my age wanted. When I was 16, my birthday landed on a Saturday. I woke up hoping maybe this year would be different. Maybe they'd notice me. At breakfast, Mom handed me an envelope. Inside was $50. "Thank you," I said, genuinely grateful. $50 was a lot of money to save. Then Blythe came bouncing
My
down
name
the
is Renata
stairs,
Martinez, and this is
still
the
in her
story of how I
pajamas.
learned that sometimes the people who
She
gave
was
you life are the
13,
same ones
and the
who try
house
to
seemed
erase
to
it.
revolve around her schedule. "Happy early birthday to me," she sang out. Her birthday was 2 weeks away. "We couldn't wait," Mom said, grinning. "Your father and I have a surprise." Dad pulled out a white box with an Apple logo on it. The newest iPhone. I knew what it cost, almost $700. I'd been pricing them online, hoping to save enough by graduation. "Oh my God! Oh my God!" Blythe screamed, jumping up and down. "You guys are the best!" I sat there with my $50 bill, watching them all hug and laugh. Nobody seemed to notice when I got up and left the table. That was the pattern. Always the pattern. High school continued much the same way. I studied hard, maintained a perfect GPA, joined the science club, volunteered at the local hospital. Blythe experimented with wild hairstyles, followed every fashion trend, and spent hours on social media. Her grades hovered between C's and D's, but Mom and Dad never seemed concerned. "She's finding herself," Mom would say whenever someone asked. When college application season came around during my senior year, I lived in the school library. I spent countless nights perfecting essays, researching scholarships, studying for entrance exams. The SATs, the ACTs, the subject tests. I took them all. Multiple times. I applied to 15 schools, targeting ones with strong financial aid programs. Blythe was a freshman then, and the house was always loud with her friends coming and going, music blasting, drama about boys and friend groups. I'd retreat to my room, headphones on, working on my future. The acceptance letters started arriving in March. University of California. Accepted. Boston University. Accepted. Stanford. Waitlisted. And then, the one I'd been waiting for, MIT. Full scholarship. I ran into the kitchen, waving the letter, my hands shaking. "Mom! Dad! I got in! MIT with a full scholarship!" Mom glanced up from where she was helping Blythe apply makeup at the kitchen table. They were getting ready for some school dance. "That's nice, dear. Blythe, hold still. I'm trying to get your eyeliner just right." Dad looked over his newspaper. "Good job, Ariel. We expected nothing less. Expected nothing less. As if my years of work, my sleepless nights, my sacrifices were just expected. Baseline. Nothing special." I stood there for a moment longer, waiting for more. Waiting for them to ask about the program, about when I'd leave, about how I felt. But Mom had gone back to perfecting Blythe's makeup, and Dad had returned to his paper. I went back to my room, clutching the letter. This was my ticket out, my chance to finally escape to a place where hard work was noticed, valued, celebrated. But even in my excitement, something hurt. Some part of me that still hoped they'd care. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat at my desk staring at the acceptance letter and remembered something I'd almost forgotten. When I was 8 years old, my grandmother Eleanor gave me a small wooden box. "You're special, Ari," she'd said, her wrinkled hands holding mine. "Don't let anyone make you feel less than you are. Keep this safe. Open it when you're ready." I'd tucked that box away years ago, not thinking much of it. But now I pulled it out from the back of my closet. Inside was a silver locket with Grandma Eleanor's picture and a small piece of paper with neat handwriting. Trust account number 4782-Hayes. Attorney, Vivian Cole. I didn't understand what it meant. My grandmother had passed away 6 years ago, when I was 12. I'd been too young to be involved in any of the estate stuff. I assumed everything had been handled. I tucked the paper back into the box. Whatever it was, it could wait. Right now, I had a future to plan. MIT was everything I'd hoped for, and more. For the first time in my life, I was surrounded by people who appreciated hard work and ambition. People who understood the drive to be better, to do more, to prove something. I threw myself into my studies. Biomedical engineering. It was challenging, demanding, and I loved every minute of it. I also worked 2 part-time jobs, one at the campus library and another as a tutor for underclassmen. Not because I had to, exactly. The scholarship covered tuition and housing. But because I wanted to graduate without debt and with savings. My parents called once a month, usually on Sundays. The conversations were always the same. "How are your classes?" Mom would ask. "Great. I made Dean's List again." "That's wonderful. Oh, guess what? Blythe just signed up for cosmetology school. Well, she's thinking about it. We're so excited to see what she chooses." I'd listen to them talk about Blythe's latest interest. Cosmetology 1 month, photography the next, then fashion design, then a baking course. She never finished any of them, but they were always so proud of her for exploring her options. Meanwhile, I worked 12-hour days between classes and jobs. I made Dean's List every semester. In my junior year, I landed a summer internship at a major pharmaceutical company in Boston. It was unpaid, but the experience was invaluable. I called home, excited to share the news. "That's great, honey," Dad said. "Unpaid, though, seems like a waste of a summer." "It's not about the money right now. It's about building my resume, making connections." "If you say so." "Hey, did we tell you? Blythe met a guy. We really like him. Comes from a good family." I hung up feeling deflated, but I was used to it. I channeled that feeling into work, into proving myself, into building something they couldn't dismiss. Senior year, I graduated summa cum laude. Top of my class. I had a job offer before I even received my diploma. A research position at Morrison Pharmaceutical Company back in Boston. $60,000 a year to start. It wasn't a fortune, but it was mine. I'd earned it. My parents didn't come to graduation. Blythe had a photo shoot for her Instagram that weekend. She was trying to become an influencer, her latest venture. She had about 15,000 followers, though I later learned most of
and
them
this
were
is stories
bought.
of how I'm lies.
I walked across that
Sometimes the people who
stage,
gave you life are
accepted
the
my
students who trying to
diploma,
erase it.
and sat through the ceremony surrounded by other people's families. Other people's proud parents. That night, I packed up my dorm room alone, loaded my few belongings into my beat-up Honda Civic, and drove to my new life. The first year at Morrison Pharmaceutical was brutal. I was the youngest person on my team, the least experienced, and I felt like I had to prove myself constantly. So I did. I worked longer hours than anyone else, volunteered for the difficult projects, asked questions, learned everything I could. My boss, Dr. Rebecca Foster, was a brilliant woman in her early 50s who'd been in the industry for 25 years. About 6 months into my role, she called me into her office. "Ariel, sit down," she said, gesturing to a chair. My heart pounded. Was I getting fired? Had I made a mistake? "I've been watching you, Doctor," Foster continued. "You work harder than anyone I've seen in 20 years. You remind me of myself when I was younger." I relaxed slightly. "Thank you. I just want to do well." "You're doing more than well. How would you feel about a promotion? We have an opening for a project coordinator position. It's more responsibility, but also more money. $72,000. I almost fell out of my chair. Yes. Absolutely yes." She smiled. "Good. You've earned it." That night, I celebrated by buying myself dinner at a nice restaurant. I sat alone at a table for two, ordered the salmon, and felt like I was on top of the world. I called home. "Dad, I got promoted." "That's my girl," he said warmly. "Always knew you'd do fine." "It's a big jump. $72,000 a year. Can you believe it?" "That's great, kiddo. Hey, your mother wants to talk to you." "Ariel?" Mom's voice came on the line. "Sweetie, since you're doing so well, I wanted to ask you something. Blythe needs to borrow some money. She wants to upgrade her camera equipment for her photography business." My celebration deflated like a punctured balloon. Her photography business? Yes, she's really serious about it this time. She needs about $3,000 for a new camera and lenses. $3,000. Almost a month of my salary after taxes and expenses. "I'll think about it," I said carefully. "Well, don't think too long. The sale ends this weekend." After I hung up, I sat in that restaurant, staring at my half-eaten salmon, and realized nothing had changed. I could move across the country, earn a degree from MIT, land a great job, And still, I was just the reliable one. The one who'd be fine. The one who should help. I didn't send Blythe the money. The next few years passed in a blur of work and gradual progress. I was promoted again at 23 to senior project manager, making $88,000. Saved aggressively. At 24, I finally moved out of my tiny studio apartment and into a slightly less tiny one-bedroom. I furnished it with IKEA furniture that I assembled myself and felt proud of every wobbly table leg. That was also the year I met Jake Morrison. Jake was a senior research scientist, a few years older than me. He'd graduated from MIT too, though we'd never crossed paths there. He was brilliant, funny, and one of the few people at work who actually talked to me like a person, and not just a younger colleague. We became friends, real friends. The kind who'd grab lunch together, vent about difficult projects, text each other memes late at night when we were both still at the office. "You need a life outside of work," he told me one evening. We were the last two in the lab, again. Says the guy who's here with me at 9 p.m. on a Friday. Fair point, he laughed. But seriously, Ariel, when was the last time you did something just for fun? I thought about it. Define fun. Oh no, that's a bad sign. But he was right. I'd been so focused on building my career, on proving myself, that I'd forgotten to build a life. Meanwhile, back home, Blythe had found her path. Or at least, she'd found Nicholas Whitmore. She called me one evening, her voice bubbling with excitement. "Ari, I met someone." "That's great, Blythe." "His name is Nicholas, and he's perfect. He works in real estate. His family owns like half the city, and he's taking me to the nicest restaurants, and he bought me this Gucci bag, and..." Wait, he bought you a Gucci bag? You just met him? Last month, but it feels like forever. Ari, I think he might be the one. That's fast. Why do you always have to be negative? Can't you just be happy for me? I am happy for you. I just want you to be careful. Whatever. You wouldn't understand anyway. You're married to your job. She wasn't wrong, but still, it stung. 6 months later, Blythe called again. "I'm engaged." "Congratulations," I said, and I meant it. If she was happy, genuinely happy, then I was glad for her. The wedding's going to be at the Plaza Hotel. Nicholas's parents are paying for everything. It's going to be huge, like 300 people. Wow, that's really big. I need you to be a bridesmaid, obviously. Of course. The dresses are $600 each. That's okay, right? I mean, you make good money. $600 for a dress I'd wear once. But this was my sister's wedding. Sure, Blythe, that's fine. What I didn't tell her was that I'd been saving for something else. Something big. At 25, I was promoted again. Associate Director of Research and Development. It came with a salary bump to $105,000 and a conversation with Dr. Foster that changed everything. "Ariel," she said one afternoon, "how would you like to lead the new drug delivery project? It's a big undertaking. High risk, high reward." "I'd love to." "It'll be intense. Long hours, tight deadlines. The team's going to lean on you hard." "I can handle it." And I did. For the next 8 months, I basically lived at the lab. 12 to 14-hour days became routine. Weekends blurred into weekdays. I'd arrive at sunrise and leave after dark. Jake often worked late too, and we'd order takeout to the office, reviewing data and troubleshooting problems until midnight. "You're going to burn out," he warned me one night. "I'll rest when it's done." "Ariel, I'm serious. I'm worried about you." I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw genuine concern in his eyes. When had anyone last looked at me like that? "I'm fine," I said, softening my tone. "Really, this project, it's important. If we get this right, it could change how we deliver chemotherapy drugs. Fewer side effects, better targeting. It could save lives. I know, he said quietly. That's why I'm working late too. We finished the project. It was a success. Groundbreaking, even. The company filed 3 patents based on our research. Dr. Foster called me into her office with a smile I'd never seen before. Ariel, you did it. The board is thrilled. We're fast-tracking this for clinical trials. That's incredible. There's more. We're promoting you to senior manager. Salary's going up to $120,000. And, she paused, pulling out a folder. We have a special program for our top employees. A chance to purchase property through the company's real estate investment program. 30% discount on market value. I stared at the folder. Property? An apartment. 2 bedrooms, great location. Market value is $280,000. With the discount, it's $196, if you're interested. I'd been saving aggressively for 4 years. I had $65,000 in the bank. With the discount, I'd need about $20,000 for a 10% down payment as a first-time buyer, plus closing costs. I could do it. I'm interested. 2 months later, at 26 years old, I signed the papers. I owned a home. Not rented. Owned. I walked through the empty apartment, my footsteps echoing on the hardwood floors. 2 bedrooms. A real kitchen. Big windows with actual sunlight. It was mine. I called Jake first. I got the keys. Congratulations. Want help moving in? You don't have to. Ariel, I want to. Let me help. That weekend, Jake showed up with his truck. I didn't have much. My old IKEA furniture, some boxes of books, my clothes. But he helped me move everything, then insisted on buying pizza and beer to celebrate. To your first home, he said, raising his bottle. To proving them all wrong, I replied. We clinked bottles and sat on my floor, eating pizza from paper plates. And for the first time in a long time, I felt genuinely happy. A few months later, I bought myself a car. A sensible Honda Accord. Nothing flashy, but reliable and mine. $28,000 I'd saved myself. The day I drove it home, I felt a surge of pride. This car represented years of early mornings and late nights. Years of proving myself. Years of building something from nothing. A few weeks after that, I decided to host a small housewarming party. Just a few colleagues, some friends from my MIT days who were in the area. I debated whether to invite my family. Part of me wanted to. Wanted them to see what I'd accomplished. Wanted them to be proud. The other part of me knew exactly what would happen. I invited them anyway. Hope is a stubborn thing. The party was on a Saturday evening. I'd spent the whole day preparing, cleaning, cooking, setting up. Nothing fancy, but it was nice. My home looked warm, welcoming, like a place where someone actually lived. My colleagues arrived first. Dr. Foster brought an expensive bottle of wine. Jake brought a succulent in a ceramic pot. For your new place, hard to kill, like you. Others brought cards, small gifts, congratulations. Then my family arrived. Mom walked in first, her eyes scanning the apartment. I watched her take it in. The minimal but tasteful furniture, the framed photos on the walls, the small balcony with a view of the city. It's smaller than I thought, she said. It's 900 square feet, Mom. For one person, it's plenty. I suppose it's practical. Dad came in behind her, hands in his pockets. How much did this place cost? Dad, that's not really... I'm just curious. You're my daughter. How much? After the company discount, $196,000. He whistled low. Could have invested that money instead of tying it up in property. Blythe was the last to enter, dressed like she was going to a club in a designer outfit I recognized from Instagram. She pulled out her phone immediately, taking selfies. "It's cute," she announced loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Like a starter home." The room went quiet. My colleagues exchanged glances. Jake's jaw tensed. I forced a smile. "Thanks for coming, guys. Let me get you some drinks." The evening proceeded uncomfortably. Every time one of my colleagues tried to congratulate me or mention my work, my parents would somehow steer the conversation back to Blythe. "Did you hear?" Mom said, cutting off Dr. Foster mid-sentence. "Blythe and Nicholas just bought a penthouse. $2 million. His parents gifted it to them." "That's generous," Dr. Foster said carefully. "Oh yes, they're wonderful people. Very established family." Jake leaned close to me. "Are they for real?" he whispered. "Just ignore it." But it kept happening. Again and again. Until finally, Dr. Foster was talking about the drug delivery project, explaining to a few people how significant our breakthrough was, and Mom interrupted again. "Yes, well, not everyone can be as naturally charming as Blythe. Ariel has to work for things." The room went completely silent. Jake stood up. "With all due respect, Mrs. Hayes, do you hear yourselves?" "Excuse me?" Mom's voice went cold. "Your daughter just bought a home at 26. She's brilliant. She's successful. She's accomplished more than most people twice her age. And you're treating her like an afterthought. Young man, that's none of your business. It is when I watch someone I care about being disrespected in her own home." Dad stood now too. "Who the hell do you think you are?" "Jake, it's fine," I said quietly, my face burning. "It's not fine," he said, looking at me. "Ariel, it's not fine." Dr. Foster cleared her throat. "I think perhaps we should give the family some space." My colleagues filed out, awkward and uncomfortable. Jake was the last to leave, and he squeezed my hand on the way out. After the door closed, the four of us stood in my living room. "I can't believe you let him talk to us like that," Mom said. "He was defending me. Something you've never done." "Oh, don't be so dramatic." "Get out." They all froze. "Get out of my home. All of you. Now." "Ariel," Dad started. "I said get out!" Blythe grabbed her purse, huffing. "You know what? You're just jealous. Jealous that I found the easy way and you're still grinding. Get out." They left. The door slammed. I stood in my apartment, my beautiful, hard-earned apartment, and felt it all crash down. The years of being ignored. The years of being second place. The years of hoping they'd see me. I sank down onto my couch and cried. My phone buzzed. A text from Jake. "I'm sorry if I overstepped. I couldn't watch that anymore." I typed back, "You didn't overstep. Thank you for seeing me." His response was immediate. "I've always seen you, Ariel. Always." I stared at that message for a long time. Someone saw me. Finally, someone saw me. But I had no idea that this was only the beginning, that the worst was yet to come, that my family's cruelty had depths I hadn't yet discovered. I thought that was rock bottom. I had no idea how much further I could fall. After that disastrous housewarming party, I made a decision. I needed distance from my family. Not a dramatic cutoff. I wasn't ready for that yet, but space. Room to breathe. Room to heal. I threw myself back into work with renewed focus. The weeks turned into months, and slowly, I transformed my apartment into something that felt like home. Every piece of furniture, every splash of color on the walls was a reminder that I'd built this. Me. No one else. Jake and I grew closer. We still worked together, But now we also grabbed dinner after late nights at the lab, went to movies on weekends, talked about everything: our dreams, our fears, our childhoods. He told me about his parents' divorce, how he'd learned early on that family wasn't always safe. I told him about feeling invisible. "You're not invisible to me," he said one night over Thai food. "You're the brightest person in any room." I didn't know what to say to that, so I just smiled and changed the subject, but his words stayed with me. 3 months after the housewarming incident, Blythe called. "Ari, I need you to come dress shopping this weekend." Not, "Would you like to come?" or "Are you free?" Just an expectation that I'd drop everything. "I have work. It's my wedding dress, Ariel. You're my sister. You have to be there." I went, because despite everything, she was still my sister. And some stubborn part of me still hoped we could have a normal relationship. The bridal boutique was the kind of place where you needed an appointment and a credit card with no limit. Mom was already there when I arrived, sipping champagne with the consultant. "Oh, good. You made it," Mom said, barely glancing at me. "We've already pulled some options for Blythe." For the next 3 hours, I sat on a velvet couch and watched Blythe try on dress after dress. Each one was more elaborate than the last. Each one cost more than I made in 2 months. "What do you think of this one, Ari?" Blythe asked, spinning in a ball gown with a cathedral train. "It's beautiful." "You say that about all of them." "They're all beautiful, Blythe. You could wear any of them." She frowned. "You're not being helpful." Mom leaned over. "Ariel's never been much into fashion. She wouldn't understand." The consultant returned with another dress. "This one just came in from Milan. It's $12,000. $12,000. For one dress. For one day." Blythe gasped when she saw herself in the mirror. "This is it. This is the one." "You look like a princess," Mom breathed, tears in her eyes. I watched my mother cry happy tears over my sister's wedding dress and tried to remember if she'd cried at my MIT graduation. But of course, she hadn't been there. "Ari?" Blythe's voice pulled me back. "What do you think?" "You look beautiful." "Really?" "Good, because I also need to talk to you about the bridesmaid dresses." She pulled out her phone, showing me a picture. "These, 600 each, like I mentioned." "Right. And there's the bachelorette party. We're doing 4 days in Vegas. It'll be about 2,000 per person." My stomach dropped. "Blythe, I can't take 4 days off work. I have a major presentation." Her face fell. "You're not coming to my bachelorette party?" "I'm not saying that, I'm just..." "You always put work first. Always. This is my wedding, Ariel." "I understand that, but..." "Forget it. Just forget it." She turned back to the mirror, her eyes suddenly red with tears. "I knew you wouldn't be supportive." Mom stood up. "Ariel, really? Can't you make this one sacrifice for your sister?" Sacrifice. As if I hadn't sacrificed enough. As if I hadn't spent my entire childhood being the easy one. The one who didn't need attention. The one who could handle being ignored. I ended up going to the bridal shower, a lavish affair at a country club, and missing the bachelorette trip. Blythe didn't speak to me for 2 weeks after. The wedding day arrived on a beautiful Saturday in June. I stood in a hotel room with 5 other bridesmaids, all of them Blythe's friends from her various failed ventures and Instagram life. They talked about influencer drama and designer sales while I helped bustle trains and fetch forgotten items. Blythe looked stunning. I had to give her that. The $12,000 dress was worth every penny in photographs. Her makeup was flawless, her hair a cascade of perfect curls. "You look beautiful," I told her honestly. She smiled at me. A real smile. Not the performative ones she'd been giving everyone else. "Thanks, Ari. I'm glad you're here." For a moment, we were just sisters. Just 2 girls who'd grown up in the same house, who'd shared a bathroom and fought over the TV remote. For a moment, I forgot about everything else. Then Mom came in. "Blythe, the photographer's ready. Come, come." And just like that, the moment passed. The ceremony was beautiful. The Plaza Hotel had outdone itself. White roses everywhere, strings of lights, a 7-piece orchestra. 300 guests filled the ballroom. Nicholas looked nervous but happy at the altar. He really did seem to love her. I stood to the side with the other bridesmaids and watched my little sister get married. Watched Dad walk her down the aisle, tears streaming down his face. Watched Mom dab at her eyes with a handkerchief. They'd cried at Blythe's high school graduation too, and her middle school promotion ceremony, and probably her kindergarten graduation, though I was too young to remember that one. I didn't cry at the ceremony, but later, during the reception, when Dad gave his father-daughter toast, I felt something crack inside me. "My little princess," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You were always my sunshine. From the day you were born, you lit up every room. I'm so proud of the woman you've become. And Nicholas, you take care of my girl. She's precious." The room erupted in applause. Glasses clinked. People wiped their eyes. I sipped my champagne and wondered what it felt like to be someone's sunshine. Jake found me later, sitting alone at my table. Most of the other bridesmaids had gone to the dance floor. "Hey," he said softly. "You okay?" "What are you doing here?" "Blythe needed extra groomsmen. Nicholas's cousin backed out last minute. Your mom called me. I think she felt bad about the housewarming thing." "She called you to be a groomsman?" "Technically, I'm just standing in for photos. But yeah." He sat down next to me. "Ariel,
This is
are you
a
okay?
test recording to demonstrate
Did your parents
professional
cry at your
vocal
graduation?"
delivery.
He was quiet for a moment. "My mom did. Dad wasn't there. He'd already moved to California with his new family. My parents didn't come to mine." "I know. But they're here for this. $2 million wedding. Dad crying over walking her down the aisle." I laughed, but it came out bitter. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Jake took my hand under the table. "Their blindness doesn't diminish your light." I looked at him, this man who'd somehow seen me when no one else did. "How do you always know what to say?" "Because I pay attention." He squeezed my hand. "Want to get out of here? Go somewhere that's not—" He gestured around at the opulence. "This?" We left early, changed out of our formal wear in the hotel bathrooms, and ended up at a diner at midnight, eating pancakes and talking about anything except my family. About a year passed after the wedding. A year of watching Blythe's Instagram explode with photos of her luxurious life. Designer handbags, exotic vacations, private chef dinners. Everything was #blessed and #living my best life. Meanwhile, I continued working. My Honda Accord, the one I'd bought proudly the year before, still ran perfectly. My apartment felt more like home every day. Jake and I had moved from friendship into something deeper, though we hadn't put a label on it yet. Then Morrison Pharmaceutical announced a company-wide innovation challenge. Teams could submit proposals for breakthrough projects. The winning team would receive substantial bonuses, and the team leader would win a 2-week luxury cruise through the Caribbean and Mediterranean. "You should enter," Jake said immediately. "I don't know. The project I'm thinking about is ambitious." "Ariel, you're the most innovative person here. Enter." I did. I submitted a proposal for a new approach to targeted drug delivery using nanotechnology. It was bold, risky, and theoretically brilliant. 8 weeks later, I got the call. The CEO himself called me into his office. "Ariel, your proposal was outstanding. Unanimous decision from the judges. You're getting the bonus, $25,000, and the cruise leaves in 6 weeks. 2 weeks, all expenses paid. You've earned this." I floated out of that office. For the first time in my life, I felt celebrated, chosen, valued. That high lasted exactly 3 days. A week after winning the challenge, Dr. Foster called me into her office. She looked uncomfortable, which was unusual for her. Ariel, I need to tell you something. It's about your mother. My stomach dropped. My mother? I ran into her at Memorial Hospital last month. She was in the oncology wing. She paused. I shouldn't have seen her chart, but... Ariel, your mother has stage 3 breast cancer. She's been in treatment for 6 months. The room spun. 6 months. 6 months and they hadn't told me. I drove to my parents' house immediately, not bothering to call first. I found them in the living room. Mom in a headscarf I hadn't seen during our monthly Sunday dinners. Why didn't you tell me Mom is sick? Seraph looked startled. How did you... 6 months? 6 months and you didn't think I should know? Dad stood up. We didn't want to worry you. You're so busy with work. And we didn't want Blythe to stress. Mom added quietly. She's sensitive. Something clicked in my mind. Is this why? Why you baby her so much? Mom's eyes filled with tears. I won't always be here, Ariel. Blythe needs to be taken care of. You'll be fine. You don't need us. So you're writing me off because I'm strong enough to handle it? I'm protecting my daughter. You have 2 daughters. My voice cracked. Mom shook her head slowly. Blythe needs protection. You've never needed anything from us. You've made that clear your whole life. I stared at her, understanding flooding through me like ice water. My independence, my strength, had become the very reason they felt justified in neglecting me. Because I could survive without them, they decided I should have to. I came here to offer support, I said quietly, to ask how I could help. But I see now you don't want my help. You want me to disappear so you can focus on Blythe without guilt. Neither of them denied it. I left without another word. Drove home with tears streaming down my face. Not because they were sick, but because even cancer couldn't make them see me as someone worth protecting too. That Sunday, I drove to my parents' house for the monthly dinner obligation. It had been 2 weeks since the hospital confrontation, and we'd spoken exactly once. A brief, cold text exchange about what time to arrive. When I walked in, the smell of Mom's pot roast filled the air. Blythe was already there, looking tired. Where's Nicholas? I asked. Working, she said shortly. We sat down to dinner and I decided to share my news. Maybe this time would be different. Maybe this time they'd be excited for me. I have some good news, I said. I won the company's Innovation Challenge. There were over 100 entries, and I won. That's nice, dear, Mom said, passing the potatoes. The prize is a 2-week cruise, all expenses paid, Caribbean and Mediterranean. It's supposed to be incredible. Dad nodded. Sounds relaxing. When do you leave? Next month? Blythe suddenly perked up. Next month? 2 weeks? All expenses paid? Yeah. Wait, so you can bring someone, right? Like a +1? No, it's just for me. Her face fell, then shifted into something calculating. But you could give it to someone else, right? If you wanted? I felt a chill run down my spine. What? Well, you're always working anyway. You'd probably be stressed the whole time. I, on the other hand, could really use a vacation. Nicholas has been working constantly. Things have been hard. Blythe, Mom set down her fork. Actually, that's not a bad idea. You could give the trip to Blythe. She needs a break. You can go on a cruise anytime. I stared at them in disbelief. I earned this trip. I worked for months on that project. Dad spoke up. We're just saying, family shares. What's yours is ours, right? That's what family does. No, absolutely not. This is mine. I'm going. The temperature in the room dropped. You're being selfish, Mom said, her voice cold. I'm being selfish? I want a competition and I want to enjoy my prize, and that makes me selfish? Blythe's eyes welled with tears. I can't believe you. I thought you'd want to help me. Things are really rough with Nicholas right now. Then fix your marriage, Blythe. Don't take my cruise. You've always been jealous of me. She spat. Always. You can't stand that I found happiness. That's not... Girls, enough, Dad said firmly. Then to me. Ariel, I'm very disappointed in you. When your mother and I ask you to help your sister, you should help. No questions asked. Something inside me snapped. Years of frustration, resentment, and hurt came pouring out. No. For once in my life, no. I'm not giving up something I earned because Blythe wants it. I'm not sacrificing my happiness because she can't maintain her own. I'm done. I stood up, grabbed my purse, and walked out. Behind me, I heard Mom calling my name, Dad shouting something about disrespect, Blythe crying dramatically. I got in my car and drove home. My hands were shaking. My phone started ringing immediately. Mom, Dad, even some aunt I barely talked to. I turned it off. The next few weeks were tense. Minimal contact with my family. Curt texts. They were clearly expecting me to apologize, to give in like I always did. But I didn't. The day before my cruise, I packed my bags, arranged for Jake to water my plants, and did something I'd never done before. I completely disconnected. Turned off my phone. Set my work email to auto-reply. For 2 weeks, I would be unreachable. Are you sure about the phone? Jake asked, helping me check my luggage. I'm sure. I need this. I need to be completely away from everything. He hugged me. You deserve this, Ariel. Have the best time. The cruise was everything I'd hoped for, and more. I watched stunning sunsets in the Bahamas, explored ancient ruins in Rome, walked through the busy streets of Barcelona. I read books, took naps, ate amazing food, and met other travelers who knew nothing about my family or my history. For 2 weeks, I was just Ariel. Not the overlooked daughter, not the responsible older sister. Just me. On the last night of the cruise, as we sailed back toward Florida, I stood on the deck and looked out at the dark ocean. I felt lighter than I had in years. Free. Tomorrow I'd dock. Tomorrow I'd turn my phone back on and return to reality. But for tonight, I was just grateful I'd stood my ground. The ship docked early on a Tuesday morning. I went through customs, collected my luggage, and turned on my phone for the first time in 2 weeks. It exploded with notifications. 47 missed calls, 32 voicemails, dozens of text messages. My heart started pounding. Had something happened? Was someone hurt? I scrolled through. Most were from my parents, a few from Blythe, 2 from that same aunt, 3 from Jake that just said, "Call me when you can." The voicemails were mostly my mom's voice, increasingly annoyed. Ariel, call us back. Ariel, this isn't funny. Ariel, we need to talk to you. Only one from Jake. Hey, just checking in. Hope you're having an amazing time. Call me when you're back. Love you. Love you. He'd never said that before. I called him first. Ariel, he answered immediately. You're back. Just docked. What's going on? Is everything okay? There was a pause. A long pause. Jake? Where are you right now? At the port. About to get a cab home. Why? Don't go home yet. Come to my place first. Jake, you're scaring me. What happened? Just trust me. Come here first, okay? I took a cab to Jake's apartment, my stomach in knots. He was waiting outside when I pulled up, and the look on his face told me everything I needed to know. Something was very, very wrong. Okay, I said, climbing out of the cab. Tell me. He took my hands. Your family showed up at your apartment. What? When? 3 days into your cruise. Blythe told your parents you said she could stay there while you were gone. Something about needing space from Nicholas. My blood went cold. I never said that. I know. I tried to stop them, but they had your spare key. The one you gave your mom for emergencies. Blythe moved in. What? I checked on her a few days in like you'd asked me to check on your plants. Ariel, your place was destroyed. Shopping bags everywhere, takeout containers. Her friends had been over. It was a disaster. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Is she still there? That's not the worst part. What could be worse than... Your car is gone. The world tilted. Gone? What do you mean, gone? Jake pulled out his phone, showing me a Facebook post. It was from my mother's account. So blessed. We were able to help our daughter Blythe with some extra funds during a difficult time. Family helps family. The photo showed Blythe holding a fan of cash, smiling brightly. Below it, comments from relatives. Such generous parents. Family is everything. Blythe is so lucky to have you. They sold my car, I whispered. I tried to stop them. I called your dad, told him it was illegal, that he couldn't sell property that wasn't his. He said you wouldn't mind. That family shares. Family shares. The same words he'd used about the cruise. How much? I asked. 25,000. I saw the ad on Facebook Marketplace before it was deleted. $25,000. 3,000 less than I'd paid for it 8 months ago. My car that I'd saved for. My car with my name on the title, my insurance, my registration. They'd stolen it, and they'd posted about it on social media like it was a good deed. I need to go home, I said. Ariel, I need to see it for myself. Jake drove me. The whole way, I sat in silence, trying to process what was happening, trying to understand how my parents could think this was okay. We pulled into my parking spot, the spot where my Honda should have been. Empty. I walked up to my apartment on shaky legs, used my key, opened the door. And there she was, Blythe, sprawled on my couch in designer loungewear, eating ice cream straight from the container, watching reality TV on my television. She glanced over as I walked in. Oh, hey! How was the cruise? I stood frozen in my doorway, staring at her. At my apartment that I'd worked so hard for, now littered with her things. At my sister who'd invaded my space, my privacy, my life. Where is my car? My voice came out eerily calm. Oh, that. She waved her spoon dismissively. Mom and Dad sold it. I needed some money. Nicholas cut me off. He's being a total jerk about my spending. You needed money, so you stole my car. I didn't steal it. Mom and Dad sold it. They said you wouldn't care. She went back to her ice cream. It's just a car, Ari. You can buy another one. That was my car. My property. With my name on the title. Okay, but you're never home anyway. When were you even using it? I felt something inside me break. Not crack. Break completely. All those years of being second place, of being overlooked, of sacrificing and accommodating and trying to be the good daughter who didn't need anything. Get out. Blythe looked up, surprised. What? Get out of my home! Jesus, why are you being so dramatic? It's like $20,000 or whatever. $28,000. That car cost $28,000. And you had no right, none, to sell it. I didn't sell it, Mom and Dad. I don't care who sold it. It was mine. Now get out! Blythe stood up, finally looking uncertain. You're seriously freaking out over a car? It's not about the car. I was screaming now, years of pain pouring out. It's about you taking and taking and taking. It's about them always choosing you. It's about me working my ass off for everything while you coast through life expecting things to be handed to you. Get out. She grabbed her purse, her face twisted in anger. You know what? You're just jealous. You always have been. Jealous that I found an easy life and you're still grinding away like some corporate slave. It's pathetic. Out, now. Fine. She stomped toward the door. But Mom was right. You really are selfish. She slammed the door behind her. I stood in my destroyed apartment, shaking with rage and hurt. Jake appeared in my peripheral vision. He'd been waiting in the hallway. I'm calling them, I said. Right now. I dialed my parents. Dad answered on the second ring. Ariel, you're finally back. We were starting to... Where's my money? What? My car. You sold it. Where's my money? Oh, that. We gave it to Blythe. She was going through a hard time. You gave my money to Blythe? From my car that you had no right to sell? Now, Ariel, calm down. I want it back. All of it. $28,000. Now. Dad's voice hardened. We're your parents. What's yours is ours. That's how family works. No, that's theft. Legal, actual theft. Mom's voice came through. She'd grabbed the phone. How dare you accuse us of theft after everything we've done for you? What have you done for me? Name one thing. Silence. That's what I thought. I want my money. You have until Friday to pay me back, or I'm taking legal action. You wouldn't dare. Try me. I hung up. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. Jake put his arms around me and I collapsed against him. I can't believe they did this, I whispered. I know. They stole from me. They actually stole from me. I know, baby, I know. We stood there in my trashed apartment, surrounded by evidence of my family's betrayal, and I realized something. I was done. Done trying to win their approval. Done being the easy one. Done sacrificing my happiness for theirs. Friday came. No call, no payment, no apology. Monday morning, I walked into a law office and asked for Vivian Cole, the attorney whose name had been in my grandmother's box all those years ago. Vivian Cole's office was on the 14th floor of a glass building downtown. The receptionist led me to a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Behind a massive oak desk sat a woman in her late 40s with sharp eyes and silver-streaked hair. Ariel Hayes, she said, standing to shake my hand. Eleanor's granddaughter. I've been waiting for this meeting for a long time. You knew my grandmother? I was her estate attorney for 15 years. Sit down. We have a lot to discuss. I sat confused. I'm actually here about something else. My parents sold my car without permission, and I need to... I know about the car, Vivian interrupted. Jake Morrison called me last week, told me what happened. But before we get to that, there's something you need to know. Something I should have told you years ago. She pulled out a thick folder from her desk drawer. Your grandmother left you something. My heart skipped. What? Money. A substantial amount. $750,000 in a trust fund. The room spun. I'm sorry, what? Eleanor set it up before she died. The trust was designed to mature when you turned 25, or when you demonstrated complete financial independence, whichever came first. You bought your apartment at 26. That triggered the release conditions. I couldn't form words. $750,000. Why didn't you tell me? Vivian's expression darkened. I tried. I sent 3 letters to your parents' address over the past 2 years. They were supposed to forward them to you. They never did. Of course they never did. Your grandmother saw everything, Vivian continued. How your parents treated you differently, how they favored Blythe. She was worried, so she made sure you'd be taken care of. She handed me an envelope. She also left you this. Inside was a letter in my grandmother's handwriting. My hands trembled as I read. My dearest Ariel, if you're reading this, it means you've become the woman I always knew you would be. Strong, independent, brilliant. I see how your parents favor Blythe. It's not your fault or even hers. It's their failing, not yours. I've watched you work twice as hard for half the recognition, and it breaks my heart. This money is yours. Your grandfather and I built a successful business over 40 years. We sold it 5 years before he passed, invested wisely, and lived modestly. This is the fruit of our labor, and I want you to have it. Use it to build the life you deserve. Buy a home, travel, invest in your dreams. But most importantly, don't let anyone make you feel guilty for succeeding. You don't owe anyone your sacrifice, not even family, especially not family who can't see your worth. All my love, Grandma Eleanor. I read it 3 times, tears streaming down my face. Someone had seen me. Someone had believed in me all along. She was a remarkable woman, Vivian said softly. She wanted to tell you herself, but the cancer took her too quickly. I remembered my grandmother's death when I was 12, how Mom had seemed more annoyed than sad, how Dad had rushed through the funeral to get back to work, how Blythe had complained about her dress being uncomfortable. But I'd cried. I'd loved her, and she'd loved me back. There's paperwork to sign, Vivian said. Tax implications to discuss. But the money is yours, Ariel. It's been yours for over a year. After taxes, the available amount was just over $500,000, more money than I'd ever imagined having. Now, Vivian said, pulling out a fresh legal pad, let's talk about your car. Over the next hour, I told her everything. The cruise, coming home to find Blythe in my apartment, the Facebook post, the complete lack of remorse from any of them. This is straightforward theft, Vivian said. They sold property they didn't own. Your name is on the title, registration, and insurance. You have an airtight case. What are my options? Criminal or civil. Criminal means pressing charges. Grand theft auto. Your parents could face jail time. Civil means suing for damages. You get your money back, plus emotional distress, plus legal fees. I thought about my mother's cancer. My father, who'd recently been laid off from his engineering job after 30 years. They were struggling financially. I knew that much from relatives' gossip. Civil, I said. I just want what's mine. I'm not trying to destroy them. Even if they deserve it? Even then. Vivian nodded. That shows character. Let's get started. We filed the lawsuit in late May. The process server delivered the papers to my parents' house on a Tuesday afternoon. My father called 10 minutes later, his voice shaking with rage. You're suing us? Your own parents? You stole my car, Dad. What did you expect? We're family. You don't sue family. You don't steal from family either. But here we are. This is insane. After everything we've sacrificed for you. Tell me one thing you've sacrificed for me. One single thing. I'll wait. Silence. Long, heavy silence. That's what I thought, I said. You have 2 options. Pay me back the full amount, $28,000 for the car plus damages, and I'll drop the suit. Or we go to court. Mom grabbed the phone. You ungrateful little bitch. I'm sick. I have cancer. And you're doing this to me? You should have thought about that before you stole my car. It was just a car. It was my car. My property. My money. Mine. You've always been selfish. Always. We gave you life and this is how you repay us? Something in me finally broke free from their hold. You gave me life. That's it. Everything else? I earned myself. My education, my career, my home, my car. I earned it all. And you've spent my entire life trying to take credit for it while giving everything to Blythe. How dare you? No. How dare you? See you in court. I hung up. The phone rang again immediately, then again. Then texts started coming in, from relatives, from family friends, from people I hadn't spoken to in years. Everyone had an opinion about how terrible I was for suing my sick mother. I blocked them all. Jake came over that night with Chinese food and wine. "How are you holding up?" he asked. "I'm okay, I think. Is it weird that I feel relieved?" "Not at all. You finally set a boundary." "A boundary enforced by law." I laughed shakily. "Whatever works." He pulled me close. "I'm proud of you. This took guts." "Or stupidity." "No, guts. You're standing up for yourself. That's not easy, especially with family." We ate lo mein on my couch. I'd spent the weekend cleaning up Blythe's mess. And for the first time since coming home, I felt like I could breathe. The next few months were a blur of legal proceedings, discovery, depositions, mediation attempts that went nowhere because my parents refused to admit any wrongdoing. We were helping our daughter, Dad insisted during mediation. That's what parents do. "You are helping one daughter by stealing from the other," Vivian countered. "That's not parenting. That's favoritism and theft." The mediation failed. We were going to trial. Meanwhile, my life continued. 8 months after filing the lawsuit, I was promoted again, this time to Director of Innovation. At 27, I was one of the youngest directors in the company's history. The drug delivery system I developed was showing even better results in clinical trials. We were on track for FDA approval. "You're going to save thousands of lives," Dr. Foster told me during a review meeting. "Maybe tens of thousands. What you've built here, Ariel, it's groundbreaking." I should have been ecstatic. This was everything I'd worked for. But it was hard to celebrate when I was simultaneously preparing to face my parents in court. Jake stayed by my side through all of it. Our relationship had shifted from friendship to something deeper. We made it official one night over dinner. "So, are we doing this?" he asked. "Doing what?" "This. Us. Are we together?" I smiled. "Yeah, we're together." "Good. Because I love you, and I didn't want to keep it casual anymore." "I love you too." It was the first time I'd said those words and meant them. The first time I'd let myself be vulnerable enough to really love someone. The trial date was set for mid-January, 9 months after I'd filed the suit. Vivian prepared me extensively. "They're going to try to make you look like the villain," she warned. "Cold-hearted daughter suing her sick mother. Don't let them rattle you. Stick to the facts." The courtroom was smaller than I expected. My parents sat at the defense table with their attorney, a man who looked fresh out of law school and completely unprepared. The gallery was mostly empty except for Jake, Dr. Foster, and a few curious relatives. The judge was a stern-looking woman in her 60s. She reviewed the case file, then looked up. "This is a civil suit for property theft and emotional distress. Ms. Hayes, you're representing yourself as the plaintiff. Mr. and Mrs. Hayes, you're the defendants. Let's proceed." Vivian stood. "Your Honor, this is a straightforward case. The defendants sold a vehicle they did not own. My client has clear documentation of ownership. The defendants have admitted to the sale. We're seeking restitution plus damages." The defense attorney stood, fumbling with his notes. "Your Honor, this is a misunderstanding between family members. The defendants believed they had permission." "Permission from whom?" the judge asked. "Well, they assumed their daughter wouldn't mind." "Assumption is not permission. Continue." The trial lasted most of the day. I took the stand first, presenting my evidence: title, registration, insurance, all in my name. Bank statements showing my payments. Photos of the car with my plates. "Miss Hayes," Vivian asked, Did you give anyone permission to sell your vehicle? No. Did your parents ask before selling it? No. Did they give you the money from the sale? No. They gave it to my sister Blythe. I watched my parents during cross-examination. Mom dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. Dad stared at the table, jaw clenched. But they're your family, the defense attorney said. Don't families share resources? Not without consent. Sharing requires both parties to agree. This wasn't sharing. This was taking. You make over $120,000 a year. Can't you afford another car? That's not the point. The point is they had no right to sell my property. Isn't this really about resentment? About feeling less favored than your sister? Vivian objected, but I answered anyway. No, this is about theft. If a stranger had stolen my car, I'd press charges. Why should family get a pass? Then my father took the stand. Vivian didn't hold back. Mr. Hayes, did Ariel give you permission to sell her car? Not explicitly, but yes or no? No. Did you have legal ownership of the vehicle? No, but we're family. Did you give Ariel the money from the sale? We gave it to Blythe. She needed it more. Lie. So you took your daughter's property, sold it, and gave the money to someone else without her knowledge or consent? When you put it like that, how else should I put it, Mr. Hayes? You took something that wasn't yours, sold it, and kept the money. In any other context, that's called theft. My mother was worse. She cried through the entire testimony, playing up her illness, talking about how stressed she was, how she just wanted her daughters to get along. Mrs. Hayes, Vivian said, her voice gentle but firm, I'm sorry about your illness, truly. But that doesn't give you the right to steal from your daughter, does it? I didn't steal. We were helping Blythe through a crisis. By taking from Ariel? Ariel doesn't need it. She has a good job, a nice apartment. That she earned herself. That's not your decision to make. Then came the moment that changed everything. Your Honor, Vivian said. I'd like to call Blythe Hayes Whitmore to the stand. I hadn't known Blythe was there. She'd been sitting in the back, and I'd been too focused on my parents to notice her. She walked to the stand in a designer outfit that probably cost more than my car payment. She was sworn in, looking confident, almost smug. Mrs. Whitmore, Vivian began, where did you get the keys to your sister's apartment? My mom gave them to me. And the car keys? Also my mom, from the spare set Ariel had given her. Who arranged the sale of the vehicle? Blythe paused, then shrugged. I did. The courtroom went silent. You arranged it? Vivian repeated. Yeah, I needed money fast. Nicholas had cut me off. I found some guy on Facebook Marketplace and he gave me $25,000 for it. Did Ariel know about this? No, but I figured she wouldn't care. She's never home anyway. That car just sits there. Did you keep the money? Most of it. I gave my parents $5,000 for helping me. The judge leaned forward. Let me get this straight, Mrs. Whitmore. You sold your sister's car without her permission, kept the money, and your parents helped you do this? Blythe seemed to finally realize she'd said something wrong. It was just a car. It was theft, Mrs. Whitmore. Grand Theft Auto, to be precise. My sister's face went pale. The defense attorney tried to object, tried to backtrack, but the damage was done. Blythe had just confessed to the entire thing in open court. The judge called for a brief recess. When we returned, her expression was stern. I've reviewed the evidence and heard the testimony. This is one of the clearest cases of property theft I've seen. The fact that it occurred within a family doesn't make it less illegal. She turned to my parents. Mr. and Mrs. Hayes, you enabled your daughter to commit theft. You knew the car wasn't yours to sell. You proceeded anyway. Your Honor, my wife is sick, Dad started. I sympathize with your wife's illness, but illness doesn't excuse theft. I'm ruling in favor of the plaintiff. She outlined the judgment. $28,000 for the car's value, $15,000 in emotional distress damages, $7,000 in court costs and legal fees. Total, $50,000. You have 6 months to pay, or I'll authorize a lien on your assets. This court is adjourned. Outside the courtroom, my parents cornered me. I hope you're happy, Mom hissed. You humiliated us, destroyed our reputation. I stood up for myself. You destroyed this family, Dad said. No, you destroyed it when you chose one daughter over the other for 27 years. Blythe appeared, mascara running. You've always been jealous of me. This is revenge. No, Blythe. This is accountability. Something you've never experienced. I hate you, she screamed. That's fine, but stay away from my home and my property. Seraph stepped forward, her voice cold. You'll never see a cent of our will now. I don't want it. I have Grandma Eleanor's trust fund, the one you knew about and never told me about. The letters you intercepted. They both froze. Yeah, I know about that too. Grandma left me $750,000. Money you couldn't control or take or give to Blythe. She saw exactly who you were, and she protected me from you. I turned to walk away, then stopped. Don't contact me. Don't come to my home. Don't call. As far as I'm concerned, we're done. You're disowning your family? Dad asked, his voice breaking. No, you disowned me years ago. Every time you ignored my achievements. Every time you chose Blythe over me. Every time you made me feel invisible. You disowned me first. I'm just making it official. Jake was waiting by his car. I walked to him, got in, and we drove away. I didn't look back. The next 6 months were surprisingly peaceful. My parents sold their house. They'd been struggling financially anyway between Mom's medical bills and Dad's layoff. They moved into a small apartment and made monthly payments on the judgment. I blocked their numbers, their emails, their social media. Cut off contact completely. Some relatives tried to guilt me. Called me heartless, ungrateful, a bad daughter. I blocked them too. Jake and I moved in together. We combined our apartments into a beautiful 2-bedroom place with a home office for me. We adopted a cat. Built a life. Work was thriving. The FDA approved our drug delivery system. We started manufacturing. The first patients began treatment with dramatically reduced side effects. You did it, Dr. Foster said, showing me the latest results. You actually did it. I had done it. Built a career. Built a life. Built something meaningful. All on my own. 18 months after the trial, on a Saturday morning, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Blythe standing there. She looked different. No designer clothes, just jeans and a simple sweater. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail. She wore minimal makeup. She looked tired. What do you want? I asked. Can I come in? Please? I hesitated, then stepped aside. She sat on my couch, looking around at the home Jake and I had built. Nice place. Thanks. I'm getting divorced. It's final next week. I'm sorry to hear that. Don't be. Nicholas was right to leave me. I was shallow, selfish, only cared about his money. She looked at me. I've been thinking a lot since the trial. About everything. I waited. You were right. About all of it. I never worked for anything in my life. Everything was handed to me and I took it for granted, and now I have nothing. What do you want, Blythe? To apologize. Really apologize. Not the fake ones I've given before. She took a shaky breath. I'm sorry. For the car, for invading your apartment, for stealing from you, for years of treating you like you were less important than me. You deserved better. You deserved so much better. It was the first time she'd ever really seen me. Thank you, I said quietly. Mom and Dad are selling their place to finish paying you. They're furious. They asked me to convince you to drop the rest of the payments. And? I told them no. You earned that money. Twice. Once when you bought the car, and again when you had the courage to fight for it. I stared at my little sister. What happened to you? Therapy, lots of therapy, and a job. A job? Receptionist at a salon, minimum wage. It's humbling. She laughed, but it wasn't her usual performative laugh. It sounded real. I'm learning what it's like to work for something, to earn my own money. It's hard. Yeah, it is. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry, and I'm trying to be better. We sat in silence for a moment. I hope you find what you're looking for, I finally said. Do you think, she hesitated, maybe someday we could start over? Not now. I know I don't deserve that. But someday? I don't know, Blythe. You hurt me. A lot. I know, I want to be someone you could be proud of. Then be that person. For you, not for me. She nodded, standing up. I should go. At the door, she turned back. For what it's worth, I always knew you were the smart one, the strong one. I was jealous of that. Mom and Dad gave me everything because I couldn't earn it myself. But you never needed them, and that scared them. After she left, I sat with her words. Maybe she was right. Maybe my independence had threatened them. Maybe they favored Blythe because she needed them and I didn't. Or maybe they were just flawed people who made terrible choices. Either way, it wasn't my problem anymore. 1 year later, I stood in my office looking out over the city skyline. At 29, I'd been promoted one final time. Chief Innovation Officer of Morrison Pharmaceutical, the youngest C-suite executive in company history. The drug I'd developed was now being used in hospitals across the country. We'd saved thousands of lives and counting. Patient testimonials came in daily. People who could finally hug their children without pain, who could work through treatment, who had hope. Jake and I were engaged, planning a small wedding with just friends and the family we'd chosen. Dr. Foster, colleagues, people who actually saw us. Blythe and I texted occasionally. She was still at the salon, still in therapy, still trying. We'd had coffee twice. It was awkward, but not hostile. Maybe someday we'd rebuild something. Maybe not. I was okay either way. My parents? I heard through relatives that Mom's cancer was in remission. Dad had found contract work. They were managing. I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just peace. I didn't hate them, but I didn't need them either. My phone buzzed. A text from Jake. Dinner tonight? I'm cooking. I smiled and typed back. Can't wait. Love you. I looked at the skyline one more time and thought about everything that had led me here. The years of being overlooked. The pain of being second choice. The courage it took to finally stand up for myself. If you're listening to this and you're the strong one, the independent one, the one who gets overlooked because you'll be fine, hear this. You deserve more than fine. You deserve celebration. You deserve protection. You deserve love that doesn't come with conditions. And if they can't give it to you, build it yourself. I did, and I've never been happier. My name is Ariel Hayes. I sued my parents, lost my family of origin, and found myself. This is my story. This is my truth. And I wouldn't change a single thing. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, if you've ever felt invisible in your own family, if you've ever had to choose yourself over people who should have chosen you, know that you're not alone. Please subscribe to this channel for more stories about courage, resilience, and finding your own path. And if you're comfortable, share your own story in the comments. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is let each other know we're not alone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Until next time.